And over to our first session of Event Tech Live, USA and Canada 2021. From Swapcard, I'm delighted to say that joining us now should be Baptiste Boulard, CEO and co-founder. It's over to Baptiste for our first session of Event Tech Live 21. Baptiste, very good day to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, James. Thank you again for inviting me. Hi, everyone. Baptiste speaking, co-founder and CEO of Swapcard, joining from Portugal. And I'm very glad to open this session of Event Tech Live US and Canada 2021. So I think it's a very important topic for us, event organizer, to speak about community, but I will start by a very quick introduction about Swapcard so you understand why we are legitimate to deliver that speech. Briefly about Swapcard, we are an all-in-one event and community platform. All-in-one means there is registration, all the logistic aspect to run events, and also there is all the engagement part that we have been using over the last year about virtual event, hybrid events. And so no matter the format of your event, you can rely on Swapcard to power your in-person, hybrid, and of course, virtual events. So last year, like all of us, we became virtual events experts. This is just to give you a quick reference of the number of events we have been powered in less than 6 months. So over 1,500 events, and there was over 2 million of people who use Swapcard in 49 countries. So we have been very busy, and I want to thank you everyone who rely on Swapcard to trusting us. Also about Swapcard, it's we mostly work with large premium events, mostly exhibition, conference, and some user conference of corporate. So very, very large event, sometimes above 200,000 attendees, and very complex in terms of setting up, very complex in terms of networking, in terms of engagement, and something specific about Swapcard that we use AI to increase interaction, and that has been a big challenge of all virtual events platform is to create engagement, not just people watching session, but really having people to network and generate leads to exhibitor and sponsor. And that our core focus is how to help event organizers to maximize the return on investment of their clients with our major sponsor or exhibitors. So let's start by why we need to change. That's the first thing that's very important, that we must to adapt to the new market, to the new world. The first thing that, as we all understood, is that we have to embrace digital evolution. We no longer have to fight against digital. We used to say face-to-face events, was seeing digital evolution as a threat. But this is something I think has changed a lot in terms of the mentality of us event organizer. And because we need to fight over a new competition of all these online services that exist for the attendees, which is networking using LinkedIn, Twitter, where you can learn in YouTube, Medium, where you can source product online. And so we have to adapt to use new behavioral way of consuming content and networking of our attendees. This is the people we want to attract to our events. Also, we need to adapt to the fact that less and less people will travel. If we like it or if we don't like it, yes, we need to meet, yes, we need to see products, yes, it's very efficient to have face-to-face events, but we will have a huge impact in terms of marketing expenditure, in terms of cut in travel and marketing expenditure. And if you look at the different survey of the industry, less people will attend face-to-face event. And also there is, if you are running an exhibition or if you're running a conference, the people are spending more time online to source for services or products. And so the discovery phase is moving away from the on-site experience to something more online, and we have to adapt toward this new behavior. Also, it means that the event industry is moving to the cloud. Before COVID-19, we used to run face-to-face event, and sometimes there was like a digital platform like Swapcard who was powering virtual event and making sure we had an efficient networking aspect So you could see before attending the event who is coming, schedule meetings, access to the conference, save the conference you want to attend, have a floor plan, and so on. So it was really something that was using on-site. Of course, with COVID-19, what we realized that most of people have been forced to attend virtual events, and all the interaction, the networking are happening online. And so what we see is that if we project ourselves in the next few years, the face-to-face interaction will get smaller and smaller in terms of the brand awareness, the brand that you are powering. And so we have to adapt, and that's something important. It's how do we adapt to this new way of consuming content and networking online. Lots of my clients, they generate revenue by selling booths, and they are really stuck to their old business model. And they used to see online event as a threat. And that's changing, because if you look at what happened to the retail industry, before the 2008 crisis, the retail industry used to be on-site experience only, like the event industry before COVID-19. So when you wanted to buy a nice shirt like mine, you had to go to the shop, and all the experience was driven in shop. But now with e-commerce platform, we are able to keep the relationship with our audience. And me as a customer, is much more efficient for me to source products I want to buy, to maybe order online. But the reality is that even though we implement e-commerce omnichannel experience for the retail, it didn't affect the existing business model who was in-store experience. And we just add a new revenue stream would get bigger and bigger and bigger without jeopardizing the historical business model of the retail industry. And so the event industry is moving to the right direction than the retail industry. The platform now exists thanks to our evolution, or platform like Swapcard. And now the mentality of the client, we are the event organizer, the intermediate, are changing, and they know that we have to adapt, and we have to provide the content also online and not just on site. So that has been the big learning of last year with all these virtual events like boom. And now we know that virtual events is something from the past. We used to do virtual events yesterday. Today we're focusing on hybrid events with the economy reopening, and tomorrow we will speak about community, which I will mention and explain in the few slides. And so we all know that now we have to adapt to the new reality. We have to offer experience on site and online, and really have a hybrid experience. And the true essence of this hybrid is that we will remove borders. This is why when you look at the different surveys of the industry, 80% of the event organizers are implementing hybrid solution. And what struck me is that only 5% of the event organizer we answer to that survey are going back to face-to-face only. And I think that's important, maybe if you are doing a hosted buyer program, a very VIP conference, and where you need to bring value to have these people coming on site. And so it's a shock, because everyone wants to implement hybrid event, and they understood that it will make them grow faster. And so for hybrid events, of course, you need technology. So there's a lot of investment pour into the space. We will provide a better experience, a better platform for you, and at the end, better experience for your attendees and exhibitor, and then we will help you to grow. And so this is why there is a lot of players who are looking and buying for technology like Swapcard. So we all now agree hybrid event is the future of the industry. I will give you 4 reasons why. The first reason is that, of course, you can attract more attendees and exhibitors, a bigger audience. So let's remember that when we attend an event, when you say it's an in-person event only, you're basically restricting you to grow, because there is so much associating cost to attend an event. There is the travel, there is the hotel, there is the time away where you're away from the office. So it's not very always efficient to attend a face-to-face event. With the hybrid events, you can have anyone to join your event, no matter where they are. So I have seen clients who have been able now to sell virtual booths to SMBs, maybe in Japan, even though their show is in Las Vegas. This Japanese entity will have never come to Las Vegas because it costs too much for them to come and have a sense of the market. And so basically you can offer the platform for any international exhibitor to start having interaction with your audience, see the value, and then next year or in 2 years' time, they will also come on site and buy a booth. So it's also a great sales funnel. On the attendees part, of course, everyone can join, and they can, of course, now with on-demand access, they can come back at any time to watch the session, so they don't need to be stuck during one day within your venue. And so, of course, you can also increase your audience. And the beauty also is that now you're capturing a lot of data, where you used to focus on the demographic aspect of your attendees, your database, who's coming, what they do, and not what they do, but who they are, what they're attending, you know. This is the demographic data. We were unable to capture the behavioral data. Who does what, who speaks to who, what are the market trends. With virtual events, hybrid events, and with a platform like Swapcard, we integrate geolocation tracking system. You know, you can really capture what your attendees, exhibitors are doing online and on site, which is gold. You know, this is marketing data that you can resell. And of course, also regarding the business model, we need to adapt the business model because we can no longer only sell square meter, and we can sell now a subscription, or we can sell different type of revenue stream with a higher profit margin. But the true also innovation of hybrid events and community that I will discuss in a few minutes, it's offering a 365 days interaction for your audience, where you used to focus on a 2 days experience. And of course, when it's a massive conference or trade show, there is so much going on. There is so much value you're not capturing. There is so much missed opportunities. Hybrid events and offering the platform open all year long allows you to offer a 365 days interaction, which has been the holy grail of our industry since the beginning of events. So right now, what we see at Swapcard is that we are in the 3-step market evolution. We used to do in the past face-to-face event only. We have done and we're still doing virtual events only because we're forced to, but now we see more and more hybrid events being scheduled starting from June when it's a local event, and international events will start end of this year or 2022. And then we're implementing this hybrid phase, so a lot of interaction we're having with our customer is how do I power hybrid event? How do I make sure my audience online and on-site can interact? How can I generate a touchless experience on-site for safety reasons and so on? But hybrid events, virtual events and hybrid event will move to what we call 365 days interaction, which is community-based, community approach. And if you are an exhibition, you will plug a marketplace attached to your community, so the buyer and seller can meet and interact all year long. So virtual events will stay, but they will change. Versus virtual events only, they will be part of something bigger, a bigger marketing mix for the event industry and our audience. So what's next? It's from these virtual events to the hybrid, it's to be able to offer a 365 days experience focusing on community. And so to achieve that, we have to remember, why do we exist as event organizer? What is our true purpose as a company? What do we try to do? And we have seen our market being stuck to the how. How do I make this happen? Which was face-to-face event. But the true essence of us as event organizer is to be marketer. We are here to provide value to a segment, and we're here to help the customer, our customer, to exchange knowledge and meet and grow their business. We are an intermediate. We are a platform where we have buyer and seller coming and exchanging. And we must stop focusing on the how we do deliver that, but why do we do that? And we have to also make sure that how we deliver that, it's both online and on-site. And of course, I have a lot of clients who have been really successful with virtual events. I've generated a ton of profit because the operating costs are much lower than having a massive face-to-face event. So it's very important to get back to the why. And when you have your discussion with your team about let's having an innovating approach, let's not be left aside by the competition, we need to have this why and focus on the why and explain that the virtual community is just the right way to achieve that why, which is helping our audience to connect. So what is exactly an event and a community platform? We think that to launch a community, the best way is to start by an event, because from the event you can turn it as a community is much easier because there is so much going on, there is so much value on an event. We all know that, otherwise we will not be here. But which is much easier to launch an event and make it as a community versus launch a community and try to have events happening within your community. So an event and a community, it's first of all a media where people come to learn from industry experts like you today, coming and join me on stage. There is also the networking aspect. You want to chat with peers, peer-to-peer interaction, attendees to attendees. It's a gathering of our ecosystem and you want to network with all these people. And also there is like the marketplace element where you want to source products, when you want to source services for your company. And this is more into matchmaking, generating leads to exhibitor. And the events part, it's having all these people gathering for a limited period of time online and on site. So you as an event organizer, you want to focus on these 4 pillars and you want to provide value regarding this content, networking, and transaction aspect. So that's what we do. And then there is how do we do it now? It's the old way. For me, we were offering a very siloed experience. Think about the end user who have to register to your events. Very often, you had a website per event, so people have to go to each website for every edition. They have to register all the time to re-enter all their data, and once I'm registered to one event, I will have access to that content only. So it's a very siloed experience. The community approach is something very different. You need to merge all your events into one platform where your audience can discover all your events happening. Then once I've been discovering events, so I no longer have to go to many websites, I go to one platform where there's all your website listing. Then within that platform, I can register. But then the best way to launch a community is say, yes, you will have access to the data of that specific event, but you will also have access to all the past data of all the past events we have run into the platform, and also all the future data. So then let's take an example, Black Hat US, which is the largest cybersecurity forum in the world. They have edition in Europe, in US, and in Asia. Instead of having one website per edition, regional edition, plus a website per year, they can launch blackhat.com, where you will have access to all these events. But then attending one event, I will have access to all the content they have produced through all their events. So it's like having a media approach where I can have an education, I can watch station almost like a YouTube channel really into the platform. And there is a lot of event organizers who used to be media. There's a lot of media who are becoming event organizers. So it's very important to have this media approach with your content. And then, of course, I will have access to all your exhibitor, all your sponsor, and access to all the marketplace you're building within your platform, where I will be able to have access to a bigger value, selecting supplier and products. And then the essence of the community is to have a peer-to-peer interaction with the people who have registered to that community. So I will have access to all the members of that community, and I will be able to network with them all year long. So it's a very different approach where we're trying to remove siloed as much as possible. So What you have to do is to become the voice of your industry. You really have to think as a media. So as I was saying, the media are already powering community, but the community are quite passive because they are browsing content, and now you want to make them active. So we learn a lot with the virtual events about how to power virtual events at scale, how to deliver content on a monthly basis. But now you have to distribute that knowledge to your exhibitor and to your speaker as well. And so the people of your industry, who are your attendees, the people you want to attract to your event, the first thing they want is to learn. We've seen that but the behavioral of all the virtual events we powered. The first reason why do we attend virtual events is to learn. And this is why you're here, you're learning, and you will not use a lot the networking solution because this is not what you want now. When we get back to in-person events, hybrid events, yes, you will need to network. This is in our DNA. This is we're social animals, so you will network a lot. So right now it's focused on the learning, and people loved watching content powered by event organizer because you're attracting great speaker. So I want to learn, and also within your community, you need to give a voice to your speaker, but to your exhibitor as well, where they will be able to sponsor session, having webinar into the platform. So they will no longer need to just have webinar on their website. All the webinar can be plugged to your platform because you already have access to the curated audience. And also me as an attendee, I will watch a sponsor session. I want to know more. I will navigate through the sponsor materials, their products, their catalog, and so on. And once I've discovered and create basically warming up leads for the sponsor, then I will schedule a call. I will speak with the sales reps. And so it's different way of selling versus what we used to do, which is here is your booth, and then basically you're left alone and people hopefully will check in. You have to spend a lot in terms of marketing to try to attract people. They are not even really qualified. They don't really know lots about you. This community approach gives the ability for your exhibitor to have a direct interaction all year long with your customer, and also to create almost like an account-based marketing. So when they will meet on site, they already know a lot about the brand, and basically they are here to sign orders. So that's also a different approach in terms of your sales package, in terms of the value you will bring to your exhibitor and sponsor. So what you will do with the community approach is to offer a 65 days experience. The issue of us as event organizer, it's that we are spending a lot in terms of marketing acquisition with a very low retention. We all know that we have a low retention in our industry. A lot of people register to our events. Half of them will never come to the event. I'm always surprised by people giving fake number, term the number of people who attend, or counting people twice because they came the first day, the second day. Doesn't give a lot of transparency to our industry, but we know that almost a third to half of the people don't show up. With the virtual events, now we're removing border. Hopefully we'll have much more people and lower drop. But we spend a lot to attract people, and then we have a low retention of the edition. But then this retention gets bigger and bigger because the next edition, a third of the people who attend the first edition will not come back. And so basically we have a marketing acquisition with no retention. So we're throwing money outside of our growth. And so what we have to do is to make sure we securing retention for our attendees and exhibitor. And the best way to do that is to provide them value. So when you used to run a face-to-face event once a year, which I understand there is logistic aspect, it's really hard to produce a very nice event once a year with a tiny team. Your brand is existing only for 2 days, which after these 2 days, people stop about your brand. This is why when you send them survey to say, how was the show? No one is responding to this industry survey because they're already doing something else, and they will think of you when they will come next year. So in 6 to 9 months, they will register and they will do nothing with your brand, and they will wait that you open is live and you open your platform. And so what we have to do it's to provide a 365 days experience. So you need to have, yes, a face-to-face flagship event once a year, let's say, but then you have to produce content, virtual events every month. And even though at Swapcard, this is what we have implemented with our own marketing approach, and we have launched our own virtual events now almost a year ago at the beginning of the pandemic, where everyone wanted to know what was a virtual event, how to power hybrid virtual event, we launched Evolve, who was our own virtual event. We turned that virtual event into a monthly virtual event, so what we call Evolve series, plus we have podcasts, so it can be video, it can be audio only, there is ebooks, and all this built into Swapcard event and community platform. So once I'm attending one Evolve, if it's a face-to-face, if it's an online, call it virtual events, I have access to all the content we already produce. I have access to the future events. I don't need to re-register, and basically the number of people who are attending Evolve get bigger and bigger. And so we started by 4,000 attendees who are all event organizers. We have now around 30,000 member of Evolve. And also we are creating weekly, sometimes like VIP virtual event just for our clients. So they have a preview of the platform, but also run a job career fair. So there's a lot you can do within this community approach. And so this is why you really have to offer value on an ongoing basis to your attendees and to your exhibitors so they keep interacting with you, you increase retention, and you capture a lot of data. So also what means this is the hardest part for you, it's change your business model, because we can no longer sell square meter when people are interacting with your platform on a community level. So of course, it's all about subscription. All the community platform, they rely either on a subscription, it can be on the attendees part, can be on the exhibitor side. Sometimes it's free for the attendees, but you have sponsored session, you have sponsored, you have ads running into the platform, so you can decide what type of business model you want to run. But if you want to launch your community from your event, you have to offer one business model that mix both your historical event business model along with your new business model, which is subscription based. So let's say I'm an exhibitor, I'm attending your event because I have to and I want to. Then attached to this exhibitor registration fee, I will have a 1-year subscription fee, which is mandatory. And after 1 year, I will see if the community gave me the value and I can renew or terminate my subscription. And same for the attendees. You can say it's free to attend, but you have a subscription, or it's free, but if you want to be part of the community, have access to the content on demand, to our education, and so on, you have to pay a subscription. And so basically, you have kind of a monopoly with your events. And so this is how you can make sure that people will buy your business model and stop having two business models that compete. One to another, you have to have one integrated business model. And so that's something very important to run, because the largest brand, they all have a community approach. And we have to see what's going on outside of our industry. And outside of our industry, this very large brand I put here, they all have a community approach. Because if you have a community approach, your member of your community will become your ambassador, and they will make your brand get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this is why all these top logo or customers, they have own launch community platform with Swapcard, and we're building everything we discuss. How to provide 365 days interaction, how to provide content on a monthly basis. If you don't have the team, how do we staff another outsource company sometimes to create all this content? How do we have a unified business model? And so with our online academy, we're training all our customers and partner to create this change in our industry. So I would really recommend you to have access to look online for all the knowledge and all these players who are launching community. And trust me, the hybrid part is just a transition that along something much bigger, which is this community. And so we have to make sure that we succeed as event organizer for the hybrid format that is coming in the next. We already have run hybrid events in Dubai, in Asia, and now we have Confex happening very soon in England. We will be hybrid. And so we're learning, we have our learning curve, the same we've done with virtual events. And now it's time to think about the long term, instead of being reactive, we have to be proactive. So to close my session, I want to give you my takeaway. So the first thing is that we are marketers. We have to remember we're marketers. And so marketing acquisition cost without retention is a waste of money. And we all know that we have to change the way we market our events. And we're not event organizer, we are a brand and we're building community. And so the community approach will help you to lower the cost of your attendees acquisition and increase the retention. It will also give you the chance to really better understand your attendees, because you will capture ongoing data about them. Who log, who watch what, who spend time with which exhibitor products, what do they search, what do they filter. All these are market trends will help you to better make your platform evolving and your events and know what's trendy in your market, which is very important to attract people. And also the last thing is that it will help you to nurture your relationship. And you will nurture your relationship on the attendees part, but also on the exhibitor side. If I'm an exhibitor and you want to convince me to attend to your event and say, we have a community and we run events, with a community, you can have webinars, you can display your products, your services, you can explain what's going on in your company, what are all the innovation, and you have a direct access to the audience, and this audience can discover you. You can create good awareness, you can see who is interacting with your content. And once a year, we all meet, let's say, in Las Vegas, and you can meet the people with who you interacted online, you warm up them, and they become marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead, and now they want to buy. I go to Las Vegas and I already have all my schedule laid on, all my meetings, and basically we're having the hard discussion about pricing negotiation, seeing the products live, and selling. And so you will be able also to have a different marketing approach to your exhibitor, where you say, our purpose is to help you generate business all year long on site and online. And so again, this community will help you to remove your borders, to interact with your brand and attend your event. So that would be my three main takeaways of why community will help your business grow, which we all want to achieve. And last slide is that let's remember that if we knew that COVID-19 would have arrived 3 years ago, we will have changed drastically our business. And we never know what's going on, but the COVID is still here. COVID can get bigger, they can have another virus. But what we need to do is now we need to adapt to the new reality, to the market trends, and we need to have a business model which is pandemic proof. And so it's time for your team to come up together and have all this strategic discussion about what do we do, how we do it, and where we want to be in 5 years' time. And I'm pretty sure the terms community will come up a lot of time in your discussion. So thank you a lot for listening to me. And I will now spend the time to answer every question that you have.
Baptiste, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you very much for being our first presenter at Event Tech Live USA and Canada 2021. A fantastic session. Let's get straight over to some questions. Loads of questions coming in on the event platform via the Glisser Q&A feed. Let's kick off with our first question here. How can we replicate the face-to-face stands or booths within a platform like Swapcard? This particular company has had issues with engagement at virtual events and wants to know how they can replicate that real sort of feeling that you get when you're face-to-face with people in an exhibition scenario.
But Sorry to answer. This is maybe not the answer they want to hear, but it's impossible. You cannot replicate what you used to do online. If you try to replicate what you do on site to online, you're having a disaster. This is why this avatar 3D platform get traction at the beginning of the pandemic and then basically just disappeared because no one wants to play with the sim and navigate into a 3D platform. If it's maybe a B2B, B2C events like a museum, of course, this is what I want to have at a very immersive experience. But we don't consume virtual events the same way we consume face-to-face events. What you need to think in terms of engagement, what we realize what works the best, again, is to give a voice to your exhibitor and make sure every of your exhibitor have a welcoming video. There may be sponsor session, and then they provide value to your audience and they teach them something. I want to come and listen from someone who will bring me value. Once I've seen them and trust them because it seems to be experts, I want to go further. I want to know what they do. I want to play with the content and then have a sales conversation. So the way we sell online or on site, the way we create an interaction is very different. So at Swapcard with launch, if you want to, if you go to swapcard.com, there's a lot of ebooks where we analyze all the interaction happening into Swapcard platform last year for the 1,500 virtual events, and you can see how networking has been able to happen into the platform. And it's a lot before the event, it's a lot after the event, between the event. I'm very focusing on learning. So what you have to do is to make sure that every exhibitor has a place in your program and they have a session, and they will be able to nurture leads and turn them into sales qualified leads. So this is the way to create engagement for virtual events versus something which is, let's say, boost driven.
But Baptiste, I'm struggling to hear you a little bit. I don't know if it's a connection issue, but I'm going to come to the next question. If you can hear me clearly, we'll continue with the questions if that's okay. Another one coming via the platform. Isn't the problem that event organizers tend to not be experts in the content that they create events for, if that makes sense? And therefore, creating year-long communities without thought leadership becomes very, very challenging.
Yes, it's a challenge, definitely, and I can hear you properly, James. Thank you. It's one of the challenge of our industry where we're missing skills, and we need to build these new skills. If you want to grow, if you want to adapt to reality, there is new skills. At Swapcard, we used to power in-person events, and then we power a lot of virtual events, and we had to learn these skills very quickly because all our customers, all the very large conference and trade shows across the globe who use Swapcard were relying on us, and so we had to build these skills. So it's the same, you need to build these skills. But the reality is that if you are smart, you will not create the skills alone. You will bring people from your network, the speakers, the sponsors, they have the skills, they have the knowledge, and they will become the leaderships. And even though at Swapcard, when we run virtual events, we bring people who are experts of the industry to teach to the audience what to do, and we are just a brand and we're organizing stuff. So we are really control freak. Event organizers are control freak, but you need to give the ability to your audience to create the content on your behalf and provide the value. What you need, of course, is that instead of running one virtual event, you will need to have maybe a bit higher staff for the setup, for running the platform, have access to the dashboard. And we have seen people, we have hired these people, like almost new event project manager who are focusing on the platform. Some of our strategic clients, they have outsourced that to offshore company or local company who are really into content. And there's a lot of event agency who does that for medical congress, who have an educational portal with membership, and sometimes the content is published not by the association because they are very short staff, but from their event agency. So that's also another way for you to deliver this content.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to a question that's quite a direct question, but a very, very relevant one, I think, which is what are the cost differences with a 365 platform versus an event-only platform? If you're encouraging people to engage with these communities on a year-round basis and have multiple events, that's going to instantly present a bigger cost to the organizer.
That's one of the issue of our industry. We are cost driven because the way we operate with P&L, and we want to project margin, and we don't want to invest. You need to think about the value, the added value versus the cost. There is cost, but you will generate more value. So instead of focusing on the cost, you think about what can we sell more, to who do we sell, what the new business model we can generate. And trust me, the margin will get bigger and bigger. Plus, if you are successful with this community approach, you can create network effect. The first mover always the win in this community approach. So at the end, even with Swapcard platform, you can buy credits of volume of attendees and exhibitor, and you can run as many events as you want. We are not selling on an individual basis, event per event. If your provider are selling on an event basis, of course, they don't have a community approach. They are not the right partner to work with. But trust me, at Swapcard, yes, cost is important, but we have an online academy where we train you to generate this new revenue stream and show you how much profit you will make. So at the end, the cost of the platform are not the main focus, because you can basically say to your boss, this is the revenue we'll make. We know that's the cost of the platform. So focus more on the profit than the cost.
It's fantastic. What I'd like to say at this point, Baptiste, is that there are a number of unanswered questions on the event platform that we just won't have time to get through in this session at the moment. But what I would encourage everybody who's watching and tuning in to the sessions over the next 3 days to do is, if you want to ask a question, if you want to connect with any of our speakers and any of our presenters on any of the sessions, you can go into the event platform and you can find Baptiste and his details, and there's an option there to then send a connection request to Baptiste, and I'm sure Baptiste will be delighted to receive those connections, reciprocate those, and if anybody would like to continue the conversation relating to everything that Baptiste has discussed in his session today, you can do so by connecting with him in the event platform. That brings us to the end of our first session of Event Tech Live USA and Canada 2021. Our thanks to our first speaker of the day, Swapcard's Baptiste Boulard. Baptiste, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, James. Thank you for listening to me, and it would be my pleasure to network with you and answer all questions that you have.